Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Late Winner Show. I have Ben from the Marseille View and Jeremy, as always, from the League on Farmers Corner FC podcast. How are you doing? How are you doing, guys?
Good.
Good man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So today we're basically we continue our build up to that 24th of October, basically having those really big games across Europe. And for this one we have Marseille versus PSG in the Ligue 1. uh before we do proceed, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Late Winner Show. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter for all kinds of football news. We're doing our own FPL show at the moment as well, so do make sure that you watch us on there. Maybe get some insights on which players to buy for the week, which are the differentials, and we do our team reveal every week as well. So see if you get any picks from that, and we'd love to know from you guys if we're actually helping you guys out. Also, Ben, since I have you as as a new person on the podcast, do you mind introducing a little bit about yourself and telling us about your own podcast as well?
Yeah, sure. So I'm born in Britain. My dad's French. When I was 4, I moved to France, and my dad's side of the family are from Marseille. So there's the connection. So I lived in France up until age 18. Then I moved back to the UK, and Marseille. Once you get stung with the Marseille needle, you're stuck. It's like a religion for us in a way. So in the last few years, I think it's mainly thankfully down to the club. So they started an international fan program. So I actually head up the group in London, where I think we've got just above 60, 70 members. And for example, on Sunday, there's going to be more than 45, 50 of us in our bar to watch a game. And then as part of that, it was 𝗕𝗲𝗪, so at 𝗕𝗲𝗪 on Twitter. He's reached out, basically, sort of put a message out saying, hi guys, any English-speaking Marseille fans that want to start a podcast, because there wasn't one. And this was back in 2018. So I think we started, the first episode was probably, it was during the season with 𝗕𝗲𝗪. So the last season in 2018, 2019, after we went to the Europa League final. And that's it. We try and record as often as possible. It's been quite fun for all of us. I think we were looking at the listening stats. There's listeners from all over the world, and again, we're at the point we just feel like we're a few friends, sort of having a group therapy session, especially during the darker days. But here we go. We try and broadcast Marseille in English to the masses.
Nice, yeah, because I mean, obviously, I contacted you just for this particular podcast, and I was lucky enough to actually listen to one of the episodes before this, and I must say, like, yeah, you guys are doing like really good, and Jeremy, I think for you always, I always say, like, you provide like really great insight for me as a non, like, French football fan. I would say I'm getting like really into in-depth knowledge about the French football. So yeah, so yeah, keep it up, guys. Definitely. Since this is the French derby, it's called Le Classique, if I actually pronounce it correctly. So it's the name given. So so I'm learning French now. That's the name given in football to the rivalry between the French professional clubs PSG, which is Paris Saint-Germain, and Olympique de Marseille. It's equivalent to Spain's El Clasico, which is ironically happening also on the same day. It's the fixture is the biggest rivalry in France and one of the greatest in the world. We'll definitely, since we don't have any PSG fans in the house, we'll start with Marseille and build it enough that we don't really need to talk about PSG, because we'll just infer that Marseille is gonna win 5-0. About that. So, Marseille, with their new coach, Jorge Sampaoli, who succeeded Andre Villas-Boas in February 2021, have recruited pretty well. They've got Saliba, Guendouzi, they've joined from Arsenal, Conrad de la Fuente, Cengiz Under at pace and flair out wide. The young Dortmund centre back, Leonardo Bellardi, has also been signed. The fullback Lirola and Perez, and the Brazilian, stylish Gerson, who was signed from Flamengo. You know, we I think from what I've seen, Sampaoli is actually, getting playing. Has shifted since he came back. He shifted back. He shifted to a back three in a 3-4-2-1 system. He really promises some exciting and tactically fascinating football. So in that, given what he offers, and given what you've seen in the recent weeks, and we'll not talk about the last season that happened. I think they've been electric. Payet was unstoppable in the first few weeks of the season. Obviously, in the recent results have not gone. September was really poor for Marseille. What do you think can Marseille do to disrupt PSG? Because we all know, like, PSG is PSG. They've got the most money in the world. Probably not now, because Newcastle have taken that dominance. But how do you think that they can set up, or Sampaoli can set up and disrupt PSG's balance? So
Go, Ben.
any one of you want to take that? Yeah.
You go, Ben. Go ahead.
It's going to be. I think the moods, from what I sense, and certainly my own moods, cautiously optimistic, but a bit stressed. So yes, I agree with you. We've played some electric football. Payet has been in dazzling form. I think he's leading the charts in Ligue 1 with goals and assists, or if he's not with goals, he certainly is with assists. Sunday night he got 3 in one game. So I think if you look at the games, there are trends. So I think we started the season where we were very direct in the build-up, and there was not a lot of transition play. It was straightforward, get the ball forward, get it out to the wing, use the pace, and just be as dangerous as possible. Really, is take the risks. And then I think sometime probably in early September, Sampaoli shifted a bit, so the system stayed the same. But it seems as though these sort of instructions shifted a bit to control instead of rely on counter-attack and pace and incisiveness. And there seems to be a sort of more patient approach. And the imbalance that's created is that you have players like 𝗕𝗲𝗓 in the midfield, or even Guendouzi, and also the centre-backs, the three centre-backs, so Juan Perez, Balerdi, 𝗬𝗲𝗓𝗕𝗏, who's come back to replace him in the last couple of weeks, and Saliba on the right. They're basically encouraged to carry the ball forward, take risks, pick out a pass, and try and force the opposition block forward a bit so that they come out and press them and create space. And sadly, I wouldn't say sadly, but as will be the case with a new tactical system, and B, a group of players that, there's 10 new players in the squad. There are moments where for 10 seconds that they'll look a bit lost, or you will have situations like on Sunday where 𝗕𝗲𝗓, because he tries the risky pass instead of playing it back to the one of the three at the back, he gives the ball away cheaply. And suddenly, because we have so many men forward in that formation, those are the instructions from Sampaoli, you're very exposed at the back, and very quickly you're either 2v3 or 3v3. And that's the worry. I mean, that's fine against teams like Lorient. And having said that, Lorient, they could have been 2-1 up at half time. They just missed a few chances in the first half on Sunday. That's fine. But against PSG, I'm a bit stressed that, all it takes is you give the ball away to Messi one time and that's a goal. Or Mbappe, and he gets it behind you, it's finished. And that's where I'm sort of dreading this and hoping that he tweaks something so that we are less exposed at the back.
Yeah, I think so. So Jeremy, he obviously, Ben made a great point on that, like how Marseille are exposed at the back, and obviously with the likes of Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe in the ranks, I think it's going to be very hard for them to actually stop them if they're so exposed at the back. And to be very honest, like, Marseille doesn't boast like the greatest of defenses in their team. So when they actually go forward, they actually form a 3-5 or a 2-3-5 in the attacking phase, with plenty of rotation among the players' position. So they basically move the ball really quickly through the opposition lines, and they do this by like quick pass and move rotations. rather than just being lethargic and passing the ball. That's something that we've seen. But that obviously leaves the defense, just very open. And given what the pace of Mbappe is, if obviously, and we're gonna get to PSG in a minute, but if PSG can use Mbappe correctly, and so you basically, so what I'm trying to ask is, how can Sampaoli set up in a way where they can easily play their type of football and also stop the trio of Messi, Neymar, and PSG. Sorry, and Neymar.
Well, I think to get back to the point that Ben was making as well, I think if you want to look too much into it, maybe that's what Sampaoli has been trying to do for the past 5 weeks. He's thinking, maybe there's going to be a moment where I'm going to have to play Lazio twice, Paris Saint-Germain, Nice in the middle of that, and when I'm going to play against those teams, how do I win those games? And I think that direct football that we played early on left us exposed. So he went back to try and play a little bit more of a position game, try and, as 𝗕𝗲𝗪 puts it better than me, defend with the ball, and to try and be a bit safer and also going pretty hard on the counter press. So I think that's probably a way to try and stop Paris, is to try and obviously be the one having the ball. Unfortunately for Sampaoli, we've seen a couple of weeks ago that the team who's the master at keeping the ball to frustrate you, Manchester City, has lost 2-0 against Paris Saint-Germain exactly because of what Paris Saint-Germain can do, which is, even though they probably won't like that term, actually parking the bus and then just waiting on Messi to strike, to bring his genius, or Mbappe or Neymar every 4 games when he feel like playing football. So I think Marseille can do something. In my mind, the one way Marseille can win is to actually put the ball in the back of the net. That sounds silly, but we've had a lot of opportunities at the beginning of the season. Even those games that we win against Lorient, we win 4-1, and the game earlier we won 3. Even those games, we scored 3, but we could score 8. The games in Europa League are the perfect example. Against 𝗕𝗲𝗕𝗏 Moscow and against Galatasaray, we have the opportunity, and we just don't bury them. And then we end up getting the 3 points. I think against Paris Saint-Germain, this is going to be crucial. This is why every Marseille fan is so happy that 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 is back as well, because Milik can put them in the back of the net as long as he's got the ball. On Sunday, he was pretty frustrated, I think, the whole game, that the passes was never going to them. And then at the end, when Payet give him the ball and he scores, you can almost see that in the way Milik says merci to Payet. It's a bit of like, merci, but that's like 2 minutes ago, you should have given me the ball already. So I think Marseille can try and get a result if they play that way. I think, funnily enough, the way Marseille, in my opinion, can beat Paris almost for sure is to actually be the one playing deep, playing defensively, and wait for Paris Saint-Germain to come out, because if the team is fragile defensively, it's Paris Saint-Germain at the moment. And then wait for the counter-attack when Payet can, get rid of 1 or 2 players and send either Bamba Dieng or Cengiz Under or 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 Milic behind the defense and hopefully get a result there. That's what I hope was going to happen. Of course, we all know what Paris Saint-Germain can do. We know that big players are playing for Paris and traveling to Marseille, like Ronaldinho in the past, like 𝗂𝗽𝗂𝗪 in the past, like Cavani in the past. They show up. We know that the referee shows up usually at the Stade Vélodrome. So I don't think a lot of Marseille fans are 100% confident that we can get a result. I think we'll need the stars to align a little if we want to get a point this weekend.
You brought up a great point, because that was going to be my next question about PSG. We've seen a lot of the games since Messi has joined, and there's this surplus of attacking talent that they have. It's just not clicking for them. I don't think that I know this answer from you guys. Did they actually deserve to win against Lyon? Did they actually deserve to win against Man City? Did they deserve to win against Leipzig yesterday? I know the answer from you guys would be a definite no, but but do you really think that they deserve to win? Because I really didn't think any kind of, there was any kind of gelling between that team. Like even Lyon, like they practically dominated the entire game until like just a special brilliance from Mbappe, which is provided
Yeah.
across to Icardi, and then the game's over, right? And that's exactly what's been happening in all of the games, right? Like Leipzig were so, like Leipzig actually provided them with the opportunities. It wasn't like Messi or Mbappe actually did something really brilliant, which we expect them to, because they're that class level players. Even against Man City, obviously Man City like hit the post with Bernardo Silva at one point of time. That would have gone in 1-1. You never know. That game changes because the scoreline changes, right? So what do you have to say in that scenario? Because as you mentioned, they look really poor defensively. If Marseille can just stick to, like, for this one game, they can just try to defend. They can just have 11 players behind the ball and just try to see what can they do in counter-attacking piece. Because to be very honest, I'm not sure if Neymar's injured, but if he plays against Marseille, so Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe, they are not going to go track back against in on the defensively. So it's basically these three are just going to stay up front. So it's up to the midfield and the defensive the players in that team, and they're not looking really really good. Like anybody's able to score a couple of goals against them, and they're just trying to they just try to find something else in their in their bank, and they just try to win, and they're able to win those games. Sorry, I'm speaking a lot, but like you saw you saw that game against Rennes, right? It was a perfect example of how you should actually defeat PSG. So
Exactly.
yeah. so coming to my question, how do you think, like, do you think like how about what the defensive frailties are of PSG are? Like, do you think that this will still continue, or if there's something that PSG or Pochettino can try to fix it for this particular game?
I think there's a number of factors due to this, and it's rightly so. You recapped Sampaoli joined Marseille in February. Well, Pochettino joined PSG in December, and it's symptomatic. They've never been convincing since he's joined in the league. Yes, they beat Barcelona convincingly in Champions League. They beat Bayern Munich because guess what? They were playing teams who were committing men forward, trying to play the control. And it works to their strengths, because when you have a player like Mbappe and Neymar, all it takes is one or two passes, and if you can get out of the counter press, and you're through on goal, and there you go. But in the league, they lost quite a few games in the last 6 games of last season. The last 6 months of last season with Pochettino, and to the point where if you compare the way that they played under 𝗕𝗲𝗄𝗏, yes, there have been some personnel changes, but not that many, and it's just not convincing at all. So a lot of PSG fans that I know, that they're scratching their head, going, Jesus, how long is our luck going to run for? Because we keep either getting lucky penalties, or we keep being over reliant on Mbappe or Messi or any other number of players to dig us out of a hole. And I think their frailties come from the way that they're set up. So yes, you mentioned the fact that those free front players probably won't track back. I think you also have the fact that Kimpembe, who was in pretty good form the end of last season and the season before last, he seems to have hit a sort of plateau where he's not progressing as he's not living up to the potential, and he's a bit erratic, and he's not consistent. As he was probably a year ago, and you also have new fullbacks. So Hakimi, very attacking again. It leaves them exposed if he commits forward and goes on a run. And he's only been playing with his new teammates for 10 games. And then on the left, they chop and change quite a bit. I think it's all of those factors together that just combine, the lack of sort of technical directives or tactical directives, or I don't think there's a lack of it. I just think that they're rubbish. And then you add to that the sort of individual problems that they have with those players and the lineups. It leaves them exposed. So I think they've been lucky, but it's it's one of those that when you're a big team, it goes your way more often than not. If they hadn't have gotten 2 or 3 of those soft penalties, they'd have lost one of the games and drawn 2. I think that alarm bells would be ringing. So it's a very fine line between they've been successful and they've had a very, very long streak of luck.
Yeah.
I'll jump in there, Richard. Sorry, I think the point that you're making, Ben, is very fair. It looks like Pochettino hasn't shown much tactically, but also it looks like the casting is wrong. I mean, you're getting Hakimi and Nuno Gomez, that they're Nuno Mendes, excuse me, that they're supposed to be wing backs, not full backs. So technically, if you want to play with those 2 players and use them to the best of their ability, you want to play with 3 centre backs. You don't have a third centre back. I mean, you can put 𝗕𝗃𝗓𝗏, who, to be fair, has actually been okay since the beginning of the season. Or you can maybe try and put Diallo in central defense next to Marquinhos and Kimpembe, or hope that 𝗕𝗃𝗓𝗪 is going to come back soon. But otherwise, it doesn't make sense. And then even if you start playing with 3 defenders, as we said a couple of times already, then that means that you're going to have only 2 more players that can defend. 𝗬𝗍, obviously, right now is the guy in Paris Saint-Germain. 𝗕𝗲𝗓𝗏 is having a very good season, and potentially 𝗵𝗏𝗓𝗏 next to him. And then it's Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi. But I think even that squad would make more sense if I was coaching Paris Saint-Germain, to have a sort of 3-4-3 with your 3 up front, just free to do whatever they want, and 2 people who actually want to run a lot. So 𝗕𝗲𝗓𝗏 and 𝗵𝗏𝗓𝗏 for one half and somebody else for another half. That maybe could work, because the way the players that they've recruited is not even the player that they actually needed. I mean, Hakimi, sure, they needed him.
Yeah.
Besides
I mean,
that,
and even yesterday, like when Pochettino basically changed the entire midfield through the game, because it really wasn't working for him, right? And I mean, it kinds of, if you think about it, like it's kind of similar to what Manchester United are having problems with. Like, they have so much attacking talent. It's just like the coach is not able to figure out like what's the best system. You know that you have to play a Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe in every game. It's just that you're not able to find the right tuning with the other players in that team. It's just so much going on. And even we talked about Donnarumma, Jeremy, right before when we did the season preview. He's not having like really good games. Like, we expected this big giant of a goalkeeper who prevailed in the penalty shootouts against England and had a blast with AC Milan. He's really not having that good of a season, to be very honest.
Well, even worse than that, he's not playing. I don't know if you saw. So I was here, so I had L'Équipe. But in L'Équipe, they made a big point. So apparently, Keylor Navas, I think, has been out injured for a couple of weeks or something now. And apparently, he unexpectedly turned up for training on Tuesday and was fully fit, or was declared fully fit. Yeah. And sorry, on Monday, and then Tuesday night he starts the game after, even though he's been out injured. And if you're Donnarumma, you're looking at that going, what the hell are you doing? Right? I've been training with the first team squad. He's just come back. Why have you signed me if it's to not play me in these Champions League games? I'm supposed to be the future of this club. Keylor Navas is 35 or 36. So I just think there's a lot of now you have a lot of tactical uncertainty and a lot of lineup uncertainty, but very quickly, if Pochettino doesn't get things going more convincingly, you're going to have a lot of dressing room unrest as well, especially with the egos in that dressing room. And we've not even added the Sergio Ramos problem to that, which is, I think that's going to be quite interesting when they do have to integrate him. Maybe that is the solution to their defense.
Exactly, yeah.
It could be, but he's going to stay fit. And also,
did you hear what Mbappe said this morning?
No, I didn't see.
He did, and it's just a mistake, and he probably misworded it, right? But in the post-game conference, they asked him how it is to play with Messi, and he said something along the lines of, it's great to play with Messi, it's easy to play with Messi, but there's Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar. There's 3 of us, and we have to play together, the 3 of us, and the rest of the team, of course. It's a little telltale, but I feel like it shows, first where's 𝗕𝗏𝗓𝗏 in that situation, because I'm more scared of 𝗕𝗏𝗓𝗏 than Mbappe, Neymar, and we talked about it, right? Then Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi against Marseille. and Di Maria is probably that key that can link between the midfield and the attack much better than the two other ones. And yeah, Mbappe saying that, I was like, it just confirms what people are thinking of you, that you guys don't function as a squad, you function as 3-star players and 8 people that are supposed to run for you.
Yeah. Just one final question on PSG, and then I have one more question on Marseille to ask you guys. Like, what we all know, like Pochettino is actually a good coach, but why actually isn't, what exactly isn't working for him? Like, what do you think is exactly the problem?
It's his boss. It's not his boss, but it's the. I think if you're in a club like Paris Saint-Germain, like Chelsea, like probably like Manchester City before they got Guardiola, there's a hierarchy of who's more important than who, for sure. If you're 𝗕𝗲𝗃𝗬𝗓 and you spend that much money on Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi, if Neymar is having a bad 3-4 games and the coach decides to drop in, do you think that you are allowed to drop him? You know what I mean? So much money has been spent on that guy. Are you really allowed to drop him? You're not allowed to drop him. You're going to have to make him play. You're going to have to figure something around him. So then you're trying to build a team around those guys. I feel like Pochettino had almost done that this summer. He had almost built a team around Neymar and Mbappe. And then Messi's free. Let's just go and get Messi, which is fair. Everyone would get Messi for free, and Paris was probably the only team able to have it. But now when you get Messi, your whole team is unbalanced again, because clearly he's going to play. He's the best. But now you have 2 players who play the same position. One player, Mbappe, who actually would love to play that position, but he's not. And you didn't fix your issue, which was trying to get a very good number 9. I think Pochettino, however good or bad he can be, I feel like whatever he might be trying to do is being told that either it's not the way, or he doesn't maybe get the respect. I mean, Mbappe was criticized with France and because of the fact that he wasn't working hard and And then during the Nations League, apparently at halftime of the first game, there was a bit of shout out going on, and the players have told Mbappe, from now on, you have to start defending and you have to track back. And he did that, and he was the player that he's supposed to be. I don't think that in Paris anybody is able to tell Mbappe that. And I feel like Sergio Ramos might be that solution. But besides him, I don't know.
You briefly touched on, like, are you allowed to drop Messi? But you're allowed to drop Messi, but only if you're Solskjaer. If you get my
Apparently. I guess, I mean, Pochettino, I think you've resumed it, Jeremy, and it's been a problem at PSG for years now. Every other coach has faced this problem. Whether it's been issues with a few times, 2 or 3 years ago, Cavani and Neymar were returning late from South American qualifiers and stuff. And, the coach is like, well, look, there's a rule for everybody. You're late. When you come back, we're going to fine you, and you're not going to play the next game. And suddenly, no, they don't get fined because 𝗲𝗏𝗪𝗓 or 𝗦𝗨𝗕𝗏𝗪 steps in. And it's like, no, don't piss them off. We spent millions on them, blah, 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 blah. So there was incidents like that. There's been Neymar, his fitness issues and getting injured every time to go to his sister's birthday in February, March. If you look, he's played less than, he's barely played 50% of the games for PSG since he signed. For the money he's costed them, that's outrageous. But you just have this, more than the hierarchy, you just have this sort of culture that the players are bigger than the coach, effectively, and bigger than the club. And that mentality has been ingrained in that club for too long. And I think it works 2 ways. So because it's even more difficult for a Pochettino, where, if it was a Mourinho or Guardiola, you'd think they'd find a way of coping with that, and they'd find a way to navigate the politics and stamp their authority, which they always seem to do, for good or for bad. Usually for bad when it's Jose. But with Pochettino, you've got to remember he's not experienced at this level, with this level of players, with this level of egos. So I think he suffers a bit from that. And also, I rate him, but I think he's overrated. I think he's a good coach who did some good things at Southampton. He did some good things at Tottenham. A lot of people will base themselves on, look, he took them to Champions League final and stuff. Come on, there was a bit of luck there. They got late goals. They didn't have the most difficult of runs. They didn't play any massive teams or anything. If they'd have played Bayern Munich that year, they'd have been destroyed. But the fact is, it's just, suddenly he was sort of the default choice of PSG, because you can imagine probably Zidane said no, loads of others said no. And then he goes there. He's an ex-player. I think he's there as a transition. I don't think they ever had him in mind as the person who was going to take them to a high level. And the proof is in the pudding and what we've seen, that it's just not going. They're not going to. If they do win the Champions League, it will be down to, unless it magically, miraculously clicks into place and they start becoming really convincing, it will be down to individual exploits by those star players with names. But it's, again, if they don't win, he's the perfect scapegoat. It could be, the job was too big for him. Lesson learned. We need to get high-profile coaches, and they're running out of those because they've used quite a few of them already.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of the problem is the hierarchy, but also the fact that, as Jeremy says, there's just a cultural problem at this club where there's a diva culture, and they can get away with doing whatever they want, and the coach really feels isolated and like he's not supported.
Yeah, I think you're right on that, and I'll leave it at that. But the issue with all these the clubs is that they're just trying to make money out of it. And obviously, like if Messi's available on a free transfer, like you don't say no to Messi. It's just, he's available, I'm gonna get it. The only issue with that is that if you ask Pochettino, like not the owners, but like as a fan or as like a normal human being who is not associated with the club, did you really want Messi? I don't know if his answer would be yes, right? So that's the issue. Like, and I'm going back at, like, Manchester United, even like United. Like, this is not the podcast to talk about United, but if United were doing so well under Solskjaer, and like everything was going so well when we signed all these players, Sancho, and suddenly Ronaldo comes up and like everything just goes to shit. Like, you don't really know if Solskjaer really wanted it, but the club hierarchy were so like, oh, he can't go to City, he needs to come here. It's the same thing with Messi. Like, if Messi's available and that's the only club who can sign him, you will sign him. That's not a question you ask, right?
I don't think Pochettino would say no, but I think I don't think there's a coach on this planet that would say no to Messi. But I think the question he probably would have asked would be, well, here's how I would see him in my system, for example, and this is who else I need. And that's probably where that's where he's been let down, is that, well, if you're going to give me, and especially when they didn't sell Mbappe, even though there were offers apparently, and he'd asked to leave, and that saga's still going on. But it's like, suddenly he's now stuck with his front three that he can't drop, that won't defend, and that he probably wouldn't want them to defend anyway.
Yeah.
But the problem is did they back him, and did they help him get maybe other players in positions that could cover for that lack of a defensive effort? And that's, I think, where he's been let down, is that they've had yet again a very unbalanced transfer window.
Okay. So we'll leave those questions for another podcast, and we're gonna do a debrief after Marseille demolishes PSG. Like, what happens to PSG now? They've lost like 2 games in the last three games. But one final question, since I have Marseille fans in the house, how have you, like, what have you made of Sampaoli up until now, and what will we, and Jeremy, me and you talked about this in the preview. We never expected like Marseille to be this good. We're like, they've gotten like 9 or 10 players in the squad. We don't really know if this is gonna gel, and all these players from Arsenal who are just forgotten members of those club, and he's gotten them at the club. I don't know if it's actually gonna work. It has worked up until this point. I would say it has worked. Guendouzi's goal in the last game I saw, great, right? What are you making of the expectations now, given the start? I wouldn't say it's a brilliant start, but given a decent start that they've had to a season.
I'm secretly really in awe with Sampaoli. I think, sure, we can talk about it's attractive, it's entertaining, but if we look a little bit deeper into it, you have a coach that comes into a different country, a different environment, a very challenging environment. Marseille is not forgiving, and a very passionate place, who's getting a bunch of new players. You don't know if they can play together. I mean, obviously, Sampaoli and Longoria are both, nerds and really wanted to do that the right way and find the right player for the right place. Who gets us player that we don't know, like 𝗕𝗏𝗪, who gets us a goalkeeper, 𝗵𝗪 Lopez, that we don't really want, and makes them all play together the right way and keep keeps them, for the most part, highly motivated. I mean, a player like Rongier that no one expected it just comes back. Payet, we sort of knew that Sampaoli is the kind of guy who brings back the old number 10 back in front, just the way he did with 𝗕𝗲𝗕𝗏𝗓 back in the days. He did all those things, but he's doing it so well, and it looks like it's a group that's living so well, despite the fact that they're not winning every single game, and despite the fact that they can be, a bit fragile at times. I'm actually very impressed with what's happening, because to be able to play that style of football and keep the players happy, it's a hard thing to do. I don't know that a lot of players were technically happy under 𝗕𝗲𝗓, because they were working really hard and maybe they were not seeing the human reward behind him, 𝗕𝗲𝗓 being who he is. But I feel like with Sampaoli, he's really created a group that he cares for, that he takes care of. Taking a guy like 𝗕𝗏𝗪𝗏 as his number 2 doesn't mean nothing. 𝗕𝗏𝗪𝗏 is like a guy who's really close to other people and who's very warm. I'm actually genuinely, if I look deep into it, I'm actually impressed with what he's been doing so far, despite the football aspect.
Oh, I might put a dampener on you there, mate. I'm pleasantly surprised that the quality that we produce when we produce it, but there's lots of question marks. I think my mood personally was we started brightly, and then there were incidents in the first 3 or 4 games which were mainly down to the fan incidents, as we all know. There's been massive problems in Ligue 1. But it was more his attitude that he's going in. He looks like he wants to beat the crap out of everybody all the time. He was very aggressive and stuff. And I was thinking, Jesus, mate, we didn't sign you to put on a boxing match at each game. We signed you to play football and get results, And I was a bit worried, because I was worried that would the players like Alvaro and Guendouzi are hot-blooded. Would basically, I was just worried that it would descend into a massive brawl every game, and we'd moaned that the referee sent the player off and all of that. And it didn't happen. So far, it seems to have calmed down a bit. But it shifted from me having question marks about his personality and his aggressivity to me now having question marks about his game management. I wouldn't say his tactics, but it's his game management. And it's little things when we're 1-0 up or when we're 1-1, and there's still this ingrained obligation, sort of feel that they have to play out the back every time at a goal kick, or take the risk, or every time, even if we're winning, it's just 100% foot on the gas and stuff. And the sort of thing, Jesus, sometimes we could do with just being a bit more classic, just being a bit more in control of the game and patient build up, and not playing the risky pass because we don't need to anymore, and not exposing ourselves defensively. And that's where I'm satisfied with the quality of the football we produce when we do produce that during spells of the games. But it's nowhere near consistent enough. And my worry is that it's also very demanding from an energy point of view. And this is what happened when you said it, Rishab, when, September, we started off brightly, we put a few wins together. Then he started, due to fatigue, probably started having to chop and change the starting lineup a bit. Suddenly removed 2 or 3 starters from that lineup, like notably Guendouzi, and you're not producing the same football, and the system isn't working as well. You're not as in control. You're not as dominant, and that's what happens. And that's my worry, is that, and I predict we'll see this with this run of games leading into the next international break. Is we'll be good tonight. We'll be decent on Sunday against PSG, and you know that in a derby game, whether they're tired or whatever, players always produce something special, extra 110%. And then after the Nice game next week, I predict that's when he'll have to start doing some turnover again, and we'll just run out of steam. And that's where I'm waiting for him to get that formula right, is either turnover less and understands that for the system to work, it has to have the same starters for it to work the same way. And you can't expect players that are fringe players like Luis Enrique, even Conrad, who had a bright start, but let's face it, it's his first full professional season in a professional squad. You can't expect him to produce the goods all the time and be as good as a Payet when Payet's not playing. Even 𝗕𝗲𝗕𝗏𝗕, whose reputation is to be inconsistent, and that's where I think that he needs to stick with the lineup, change it when it absolutely needs changing because you have no choice to change it. Don't experiment and expect the players to be cyborgs who all assimilate the tactical system and who are all going to produce at the same level in that system, regardless of who the personnel is. My answer is satisfied, optimistic, but also a bit worried that the wheels could fall off.
That's awesome. Like, well put, both of you guys. Okay, prediction time. That's the fun part.
No, it's not.
Who's gonna take it? Who's gonna take the French? Oh, sorry. What's this called? 𝗕𝗲𝗃𝗕𝗏. Who's gonna take it? Yeah, predictions.
I mean, my heart says Marseille, but my head's, we've only beat them once in the last 10 years. They always, and this is the question mark. This is why if Neymar doesn't play, that maybe means 𝗕𝗲𝗪 can play, and that has me very stressed because he tears through Marseille every time. The timing of his passing, the vision, the weight of his passing, and then if you look at the highlights from the last 3 years, it's always been him seeing Mbappe go from the corner of his eye, playing that ball over, and it goes to goal straight away. So my head says we'll put on a show. I'm fully expecting us to get screwed by the ref somehow, and I think that it will be a 2-4. It's just what happens. I think it'll be a 4-2 win for PSG, but it'll be a spectacular game.
Okay.
I'll go for 3-3. I'll go for the same amount of goals, but I'll go for a crazy 3-3. I'll go for the planet's not necessarily aligning themselves, but for what we expect it to be, the best game of Ligue 1 and the most entertaining game of the season, and seeing Marseille going hard early and hopefully getting lucky enough to score a goal, and then seeing both teams counter-attacking and finding goals in two pretty fragile defense.
I guess the message, ऋषभ, to all the watchers and listeners is don't miss this game because it will be crazy.
Watch it.
Do not, yes, and it's actually at a good time for like most of the viewers. So definitely do check it out. Like, yeah, probably
keep the volume up. Listen to a real stadium.
Yeah, it's going
to probably forget that. Probably forget that Spanish La Liga. It's all over. Clásico. It's called. This is the new Clásico between Marseille and PSG. So definitely go check it out, man, on Sunday. My prediction. So Jeremy went with the draw. He went with the PSG win. I'm gonna go support the Marseille boys. They're gonna win. They're gonna win 3-1 or 2-1 against PSG, and then we're gonna have a debrief on Monday saying what happened to PSG.
I hope
so. Yeah.
No. I genuinely think PSG is probably it. You said it in the podcast. How much more lucky can you be?
Yeah, I
think this is where it ends. I think Sampaoli produces a really good masterclass performance from his players, and he takes it. I don't really think he even cares about that Nice game. He cares about that PSG game. He wants to defeat PSG. So yeah, great discussion. I think wonderful discussion that we had for the 𝗕𝗲𝗃𝗕𝗏. If I'm again pronouncing that correctly, so forgive actually pardon my French if I'm actually not pronouncing that correctly. Wonderful to have you, Jeremy, and Ben for the first time on the podcast. Really great insights and news on Marseille and obviously PSG as well. Thank you for being on the channel.
Happy to help, and enjoy the game on Sunday, guys. Allez l'OM.
I hope, just like tonight, that PSG is not going to show up on Sunday.
I hope. That being said, please do make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Late Winner Show. Follow us, give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter. We're about 12 subscribers away from that 250 mark. I know it's a small number, but definitely, our target is the next target is 250. So do make sure that you like and share and subscribe our videos if you're liking the content that we're producing. We'll leave the links in the description below for Jeremy's and Ben's podcast as well. Go check it out. Want to check Jeremy's for more detailed French football news? Definitely go check out Jeremy's Farmer Corners FC podcast and Marseille View, all news on Marseille and we have Ben for that as well. So we'll leave the links in the description below. Go ahead and give them a follow and listen as well. That being said, man, enjoy the game. And I'll see you. I'll see you very, very soon. Thank you. Good night.